Good morning, everyone. Today we have with us Milton Chen, CEO Vsee. A little bit about him. Milton has done his PhD from Stanford University, and he has built a video chat platform for the International Space Station. Today we are going to talk about investment, funding, and much more. Before that, a quick overview by Milton.
Sure, thank you so much. So we're famous for building the video chat and telehealth system for the International Space Station. Everything for astronauts, they're done by our company. So what our company do is a telehealth system that involving video, involving these sort of data integration like the Fitbit, the iHealth, plus a number of workflows. That whole idea how do you scale up telemedicine network in a large way. And over the last couple of years, our company has been pivoted a bunch of times. We got a chance to meet with just work with a bunch of interesting people. So I'll be sharing with some of our findings, how maybe we call startup ventures. It was interesting of all the different people we have worked with. Probably the most difficult to get is probably having 2 US Secretary of Defense in our office at the same time, which is actually really, really rare. But turn out our picture was on Snoop Dogg. That got us a lot more interest in there. Okay.
Perfect. So a quick far side. So my first question to you is, you've raised investment from Salesforce.com via cold mail. How did you manage to do that?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Salesforce. Mark Benioff, he wrote a book on about marketing and funds. I will highly recommend it. So inside the book, he has email. So I just wrote him a cold email. And then he actually responded within about 12 hours. Then about later, he used Vsee, just called me out of the blue. I think he was in Hawaii. Then I was a little shocked. I saw Mark Benioff on the video. That's the scramble a little bit. Then 3 months later, the money wire into our account. There was actually no investment pitches. It was purely just a demo. One thing over the past couple of years, I cold email a bunch of big names from like Amazon's Jeff Bezos, Craigslist. All these are just cold email. What I find is cold email to the biggest guy actually really work. You could guess their email address very easily. The key thing is write an email to them Friday or Saturday midnight, their local time. And the email should have, the subject line should have 5 to 6 words. And the actual content should be a 1-line icebreaker, 2 to 3 sentences of what is it, then followed by a quick call to action. You want them to invest or something. If you have something that's, again, we did a bunch of experiment tweaking these contents in there. Turn out, from our experience, that works really, really well. And we've been just able to at least get success, these sort of just on random, the biggest names out there.
All right, so you gave tips on how they can reach out to the big guys. Anything more you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think from the investment perspective is we did 2 rounds of investment in there. We pitched with a lot of the big names out there, and we were just shot down by all of the big ones. Just to share maybe something maybe more openly, pretty much all the big names, Sandhill, folks, they actually say no to us. Even some of the big ones, even things like Google Venture. And it was interesting, we did this pitch, and the person just thought, well, telemedicine, no good doctor will do telemedicine, and from there, everything down the road. So again, for pitching a little bit is I think just brute force the volume, right? Once you talk to enough people in there, then you can find some folks who really want to interesting back you. And actually, I don't think you need to have these crazy, fancy PowerPoint slides in there. So you can get, at least our experience, really just create something really interesting product, and the people who's going to invest in you could see the value of that. And then at least our investment experience literally just purely by demo and couple conversations. Yeah.
So asking a contrary view, do you think it's sometimes better to not have funding?
I think you probably see a bunch of startup when they raise a lot of money, they have some bad habits. Bad habits as though they start squandering money. There's some famous example. I don't want to. You probably know all those guys. But having said that, try to do a startup without money is really tough in there. I would say, for my personal, maybe some of the maybe a really big mistake. 2 of my big mistake is I didn't raise enough money in our 2 round of investment, in both times, the investor came in, they want to give us like 2 to 3 times more money than initially thought. Then in the end, we decided not to take that much money. And both time was really a mistake in there because our company was founded in 2008. That's like dinosaur, like, a startup, right? We're to try to get things going. And all our projection was just wrong, right? Like we thought we were going to have this nice, rosy scale up. We couldn't, and it ended up, right, you're running out of money. It was just really like hard. So I would say is, if you have the opportunity to raise money and get a boatload of money, you should definitely do it. And of course, even raise money, just still be lean and not like squander it, versus just doing the other way. It's just like, yeah, it's tough without money.
So when does one know when is the right time to raise money?
I think you probably should be raising money constantly in there. So raising money is a distraction, right? The typical rule of thumb, right? If you do a typical venture round, you're talking between 9 to 16, 15 months from first contact to money in there. Again, most of the investors, right, they're very nice. They don't want to say no to you, but they don't want to take the risk until early stage. They tend to just drag on the process over again in there. So in that case, it's a very time-consuming process in there. So I would say you should be always looking for money to partners, but at the same time, maybe like your core value is about building a company that creates value. As you're gaining traction on there, investors will come to you with really exciting stuff in there.
So do you think it can be disastrous if you have it before time, if you have funding before time?
I think it's probably some bad habits. Our board of directors was very against raising too much money in there. So again, they built tons of company in there. Again, they were really worried about having the bad habits. So for my personal experiences, we just gone through many years of just really tough, right? How do you meet payroll? You're looking at your revenue is not growing. You're lucky your bank account is going down like this. That's really stressful in there. So that's why I always say if I could do it over again, I would definitely take the money in there. It's like, yeah.
Talking about Vsee, it's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's still not a household name?
Yeah, so I think at the top level is I just didn't know what I was doing. So internally I'll say is, I'm looking back is there were just very dumb decisions I made. It was a naiveness on my part. My background, I did my PhD at Stanford. I was into design, into programming. So I didn't have much, I would say, zero business experience. There are a bunch of things I have to learn in there. I would say 2 of the top mistakes. One is not raising enough money. Then another one is I didn't understand distribution. So for example, Peter Thiel's book talk about how you go from 0 to 1. So we spend a lot of time thinking about how do you go from that. So we're pretty good at, once we had that first contact with someone, engage with them. So this is one of the reasons we've done a bunch of the biggest projects around. But when you go from 1 to N, how do you scale up the business? That was something I didn't understand in there. So for example, some of the method, if I could roll back the time in there, right? So we had an opportunity to use things like Skype, Facebook, all these as a platform to distribute the system. That was something I didn't understand in there. So if we had done that, the outcome would be very different. And now the problem with those distribution channels always is the distribution channel is only available for a short amount of time because as soon as it becomes effective, everyone uses that same distribution channel. That platform will wrap that down. So if you look at, for example, like Living Social, right? They have phenomenal growth out of Facebook, but that whole same mechanism wouldn't work anymore. So again, that was something I just didn't understand, from the search engine optimization to all these things. So again, just how do you distribute the service? Again, so for us, our challenge has been just, we find is, there's no magic formula. It's not like you hear a talk, you say, okay, that's something, it's going to work for me. But chances are, if you hear someone talk about it in the events like this, chances are that mechanism may not work anymore because too well known. So it's your job to actually discover do the experiment to figure out the distribution channel that actually work for you. So again, we've been struggling with the past couple of years. How do you distribute? How do you able to spread out the VC?
So you spoke about the mistakes that you made. So what are the two things you would have done differently, and what is the plan going forward?
Yeah, I think the couple of mistakes in there is that I think another one I didn't understand is really about marketing. Marketing in the sense of product market fit. So when Vsee was starting out, we're focused on enterprise collaboration. So our vision was to transform how society work. So in fact, the whole product, but you guys are welcome to go to vsee.com. It's a free download. In there, you could try to use it for your internal work. But the problem with that is we didn't have enough the right enterprise features for people to embrace. Turns out that what we found our sales cycle is, for example, a group within the large enterprise, they will find Vsee very useful. Then as the deployment scale up, the IT will shoot us down because we didn't have the right enterprise features. I was a little bit naive coming from the design background. I was thinking, okay, like you have a great design, long as the end user love your system, then you'll win. That turned out for the enterprise collaboration, it doesn't work. The IT is very powerful. They will block that down. So our revenue was just like flat in there, a couple $1 million in there, which is like flat. We just couldn't, we were doing all sorts of stuff. We couldn't scale this up in there. And then we pivoted to healthcare. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. And the reason we pivoted again is we were just not gaining enough traction on the enterprise side. Then we noticed about 50% of our sales leads were actually from healthcare, and I knew zero about healthcare. Then as we analyze the market, we find that by pivoting Vsee to our telehealth options, we're actually some much better product market fit in there. And there's also some very large dynamics in terms of like Obamacare in the US, very thing that is transforming the healthcare. There was some huge mega money behind there. And now we're being very fortunate now we're leveraging, like riding that coattail. Again, some of our customers are some of the biggest name in there. And one of the reasons we were able to get them because as the market was transforming, we had the right features for that. And then we've been pretty happy with our pivot so far.
Perfect. My next question is very close to me because I work remotely out of India. So Vsee has a entirely remote team. So how do you keep workers motivated and working efficiently? How do you manage to do that?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It definitely is. This is our initial vision for Vsee. We created Vsee to transform how people work. So our company is about 40 people in there. We're distributed pretty much all over the place. In fact, in Asia, we have about 20 people. We have 6 people in Singapore. In fact, a year ago, we decided to go, even in our Silicon Valley office, go completely officeless in there. What we find is it gave us a huge productivity gain. Our internal estimate is we get about 2 to 3x the productivity of purely remote work versus office. Again, you treat your office, right? You go there, you're tired, all these things. And what we find the key thing is you have to have the right tools and the management and team structure to make virtual team work. And the key thing is everybody has to embrace it. If you have some people go to office, some people remote work, that tend to create a second-class citizen in there. Then the second thing we find is really important to find people who does not like to be micromanaged, right? So we had to unfortunately let go of some people. They're very smart, but they like to be a structured environment in there. So that actually wouldn't work. What we find is if you love people who actually love that entrepreneur, they love to do things in there, that tend to work out great. And then what we do is add a bonus to motivate our team is, so because we're not paying rent on the office anymore, so we use that same money to do purely fun stuff. So for example, this Friday, we're flying our Asia team to Bali for a week-long vacation. We're flying their family member. We're like flying about 40 people to Bali. Again, that's actually the money turn out that is it's easily coming out from rent money. Again, just create very like just dynamic work environment. Again, it's a productivity gain, which is huge for us.
Great, that's awesome news. Are people hearing that? He's flying people to Bali for a week-long vacation? Isn't that awesome? Yeah. Great, so that's all we have time for. And thank you, Milton. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the insights. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.